Before we begin today's episode, I want to take a brief moment to acknowledge all the incredible people working across Canada to respond to wildfires and emergencies of all kinds. We know you are carrying this work through very long days, difficult decisions, and enormous pressure and personal sacrifice. Today, I want to have a discussion about a topic that's really timely right now, and it applies to almost every emergency. One of the biggest misconceptions about emergency management is that the work ends when the immediate danger has passed. In reality, the emergency is not over when the fire is out. I'm Wynna Brown, and this is Under Pressure. By the time an emergency moves into the recovery phase, the adrenaline is long gone. Communications teams, emergency managers, responders, leaders, community partners, everyone is feeling the effects of the long hours and relentless pressure. And just as the response begins to wind down and you think you're going to catch your breath, a whole new set of questions begin to emerge. When can people return home? What services are available? Where can they find support, financial support? What happens to damaged homes and businesses? What's rebuilding our community going to look like? And who is responsible for what comes next? People are grieving, overwhelmed, angry, or simply exhausted. And your work as communicators doesn't stop. It only changes. Communications shifts from supporting the immediate response to helping guide the community through recovery. So, what should communications teams and organizational leaders be thinking about as we transition from response to recovery? Well, let's talk about it. First, keep the momentum going. The pace of communications may change somewhat, but the need for clear, reliable information does not. There may no longer be urgent life-saving announcements to make every few hours, but that doesn't mean communications should disappear. People still need to know what's happening now, what work is underway, what decisions are coming, and when will they hear next. Ongoing, sustained communications reassure people that they've not been forgotten. So, maintain a predictable rhythm of updates. And just as you would do during response, tell people when they can expect to hear from you next, even when there is no major development. Sometimes the most useful update you can provide is simply letting people know what's going on behind the scenes. Maintain one clear, reliable source of current information and continue monitoring the questions and concerns emerging from the community. Stay on top of rumors and misinformation. They do not stop during the recovery phase. During response, people are often focused, as they should be, on immediate safety. In recovery, their information needs become more personal, more complex, more specific. Communications needs to evolve with and alongside these changing concerns. 2. Bring in fresh legs to see the game through to its successful conclusion. The people who carried communications through the response phase are likely exhausted, and they shouldn't be expected to carry the entire recovery phase without some relief. So, rotate staff where possible. Bring in people with fresh energy and fresh eyes. Make sure you create clear handover procedures so context is not lost when responsibilities shift. Protect time for rest. Continuity matters, but it can't depend on the same exhausted people continuing indefinitely. Leaders also need to recognize the work that people have done That recognition, it doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be as simple as acknowledging the hours, the pressure, the emotional weight the team has carried. Check in with people directly. Make sure they know their contribution mattered, and make sure they know where they can get support if they need it. Recognition, relief, and support are not separate from operational readiness. They help sustain the people that the organization will continue to depend on throughout recovery and throughout future emergencies. Third, keep people connected. Recovery affects people differently. Some residents may be displaced. Some may have limited access to transportation, technology, reliable internet. Others may be dealing with significant financial stress or unfamiliar government processes and significant loss. Continue communicating with people who cannot yet return home. Make sure you repeat essential information across multiple channels. Work through trusted community organizations, local leaders, members of council, your board members, service providers, and partners who already have relationships with the people you're trying to reach. Keeping people informed, included, and connected helps build a sense of community at a time when people may feel isolated from one another and from decisions affecting them. Fourth, communicate with care. Some people may have lost so much: homes, businesses, belongings, livelihood, pets, or in worst case scenario, even people they love. Even those who did not experience direct loss may have lived through evacuation, uncertainty, fear, or prolonged disruption, and that context should shape how organizations communicate. Use plain, compassionate language. Acknowledge loss and uncertainty without overstating what organizations can do, and make sure people know where they can connect with mental health resources and other community supports. Remember that people under stress may not absorb information the first time they hear it. Important information may need to be repeated, simplified, delivered through more than one channel. And be thoughtful about what you ask people to do. Avoid unnecessary complexity, repeated requests for the same information, or processes that place additional burdens on people who are already dealing with a great deal. You do not need to have all the answers immediately, but people do need to know that their questions have been heard and that someone is continuing to work on them. Clear, compassionate, responsive communication helps people move forward. Fifth, learn and reflect while it's still fresh in your memory. Communications, without question, needs to be part of the broader after-action review with responders, emergency management, leadership, and partner organizations. Many communication challenges are not created within the communications team. They can begin with gaps in information flow, unclear roles, slow approvals, lack of training, changing operational decisions, or coordination between organizations or levels of government. And the broader review will help everyone understand how those systems affected public information and community confidence. But the communications team should hold its own focused review. There is simply too much detail that may not surface in the larger discussion. What worked well? Where did we struggle? What surprised us? What should we do differently next time? Where did approval slow the process? Who may have been missed? Where did misinformation emerge? Were our staffing levels adequate? Did we have proper handover procedures? Did team members have the tools, the training, authority, and support that they needed? Which templates, relationships, and processes would have made the work easier? What needs to change before the next activation? Include the people who are doing the actual work and give them room to speak openly and honestly about what helped and what made an already difficult job harder. Capture those lessons while people still remember the detail. Contrary to popular belief, an effective after-action review process is not about assigning blame or pointing fingers. It is about turning experience into stronger systems, better tools, better training protocols, better support for the people who will be called on next time. Finally, recovery communications should not be an afterthought. Having a recovery communications plan in place is just as important as having an effective emergency communications response plan. It gives you a starting point to build on. And while it may be difficult to fathom, the transition to recovery is going to begin while you are still in response, because you need to make sure you have steady information as people's needs change. The fire may be out, but the work of recovery and rebuilding trust and helping people understand what comes next is only beginning. I'm Wynna Brown from Adriane Brown Group. If you found this episode helpful, consider subscribing to Under Pressure for more practical insights into emergency communications, crisis management, and public sector leadership. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.